Talk about funding priorities. We've got, when I talked earlier about, as the mayor of the city of Westland, we started off with public safety. We need to make sure that we'll talk about the sheriff's department. We want and need, and residents expect this, a visible sheriff's department on the street, fighting crime, fighting drug-related issues. In the city of Westland, we have an undercover narcotics team that is fighting it every single night in the city of Westland. In Wayne County, because of our budget problems, we've morphed into all of our sheriffs now are working in the jails, and they're working in the court. We need to fund them so we can get them visible on the street. We need to make sure those mental health dollars, the dollars that are allocated to substance abuse, are being used for substance abuse, not being used to help as cash flow to try to keep this bloated government going. So once again, it comes down to priorities, and it comes down to relationships. And when you look at the county executive's relationship with the prosecutor, that's a fractured relationship, so it starts right there.
Thank you. Our next question will start with Mr. Adamski. She's going to give you the mic. What role should Wayne County play in regional economic development and providing services?
Well, Wayne County should be the leader over Oakland, that's L. Brooks Place, and over Macomb. We should be even with Macomb because Mark Hackle is an excellent chief executive, and I think that Mr. Ficano, who's worked with him, would agree with me. So we would have to make Wayne County the best by a lot of the things that have been said, by bringing jobs to Wayne County, changing the culture of criminal and drugs in Wayne County, to teach our children that these are things that are going to hurt them throughout their life. And law enforcement has to be supported, as some of them have said already, because without law enforcement, we can't get those big criminals. And one thing you should know about me, vote only for me if you support a one-state solution between Palestine and Israel. If you like Israel, don't vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bolden.
Could you repeat the question?
Certainly. What role should Wayne County play in regional economic development and providing services?
What I would do for regional economic development is I would get brownfields and clean up a lot of the abandoned buildings and a lot of, especially the large tracts of land, and then make those attractive and for companies to come in, because a lot of the companies that are looking for large pieces of land want to be a part of the Detroit region and want to be a part of the job solution. Also, I would look at startup companies, especially in the software industry. I would go to colleges and universities that want to bring in young entrepreneurs and start fresh, and I would have those buildings and infrastructure laid out for them to start a company without a lot of upstart cost. And then I think that would be a start for keeping our graduates and getting our region back on the move for new jobs.
Thank you. Mr. Dalton.
Repeat the question one more time.
Sure. What role should Wayne County play in regional economic development and providing services?
Well, Wayne County should play a major role, at least within the region, because first off, we have the economic powerhouse that is Detroit. And with Detroit, we should use that as a tool to work with other counties to increase job growth in Wayne County. I mean, if you look at Oakland County, they're doing quite well, and as well as the surrounding communities. Wayne County needs to look to those other counties and take some advice from those county executives to help improve Wayne County. And when it comes to another big issue is the water department in Detroit. Wayne County needs to help come to a solution with that with Oakland County, and hopefully create a regional water authority.
Thank you. Mr. Evans.
Thank you. I'm back to the paradigm change, folks. We have to start looking at running county government in a way that's collaborative with our neighbors and not Wayne County versus the world. There are 43 communities in Wayne County. To the extent that those communities are successful, Wayne County will be successful. Wayne County's job ought to be to provide the services at the level that the surrounding communities need and want to be able to move forward. And that's not always going to be a cookie cutter, but that's what needs to happen. That same pattern needs to happen regionally. There's far more that Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne and the city of Detroit have in common than we have differences. And what we need to do is work on a collaborative effort to solve regional problems together, whether it's seeking grants or whether it's just working collaboratively on public-private partnerships, whatever it is, it needs to be a team approach, and that's what's sorely lacking now and has been for a while.
Thank you. Mr. Ficano.
Yes, Wayne County is already a leader under my leadership in economic development and working with other counties. Some examples, Cobo Hall. Remember when that auto show was going to go to Chicago or Novi? We were able to work together, and we got that legislation passed, and we now have a regional authority that runs Cobo Hall. Aerotropolis has $500 million of investment in the past 2 years. 7 communities working together, sharing taxes and doing things where they're not cannibalizing off one another, and instead they are working together. And we were able to draw one of the biggest companies in the area with its center of excellence right outside of it, General Electric, that is there right now. We're also leading the way and working with the other counties in terms of the regional water department. Wayne County filed a motion for mediation so that all the counties were together and try to mediate this and come to a regional water authority. It was on Wayne County's motion for that to happen.
Thank you. Mr. LaVisca.
As it comes to Wayne County, as we take care of our own house, we'll be a partner that others want to partner with. So taking care of our own house, recognizing that in Highland Park example, there's 5 swimming pools, millions of dollars of infrastructure, but they're dry. My high school pool is now a parking lot. We're not going to be building this infrastructure with dollars that are in a shrinking economy, so we need to have an authority in-house in which we staff it with people from Highland Park and the neighborhoods with a pool authority, and we can grow through grants and transparency, and again, win back by bringing the community citizens back into play. And going forward, the counties around us can follow our example.
Thank you. Mr. McNamara.
Go right back to reinventing it for the communities. We have 3 or 4 economic development people at Wayne County. They do a fine job, but what they do is they get an economic development project and they decide which community is going to enjoy the benefits of that economic development project. They don't share the wealth with these communities. There's 43 communities, and I believe that 40 of them have economic development directors. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Wayne County, instead of having 3 or 4 economic development directors, had 43 economic development directors dragging in business from across the country to Wayne County? This is an area that they want to collaborate on, and they want to be on the same footing with Wayne County, and they're willing to pay for this department so long as they've got a piece of the action.
Thank you. Ms. Scott.
It's important that you realize what I said. I will work with Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County. We are a region. When we go to Washington, we go for certain things as a region, bringing in economic development and writing for grants. It's important that Wayne County stand alone in certain areas, which we're strong in. I believe in regional government and to a certain extent, but Wayne County will never deal with another Pinnacle project. Aerotropolis, I was in Lansing when that came about. I assisted in that. We need to work and collaborate with other industries and bring them into the county of Wayne so that Wayne County can grow its population.
Thank you. Mr. Wild.
Thank you. Now, this is one of the areas that Wayne County can really, really make a difference in the future. I can tell you that as I get across the county and I talk with residents, I talk with business owners, what they want out of Wayne County is they want opportunity. It's going to be Wayne County's job to attract business attraction and future investment. And this is the part that really separates me from a lot of the other candidates. In the city of Westland, we've been doing this. Since 2007, even during one of the toughest economies our nation's ever faced, we brought in over $200 million worth of economic development. And that's been jobs, that's been tax base, it's been opportunities for our residents. As far as regionalism and services, what I envision is working hand in hand with Mike Duggan to eliminate duplication of services between Wayne County and Detroit. We're going to work with Oakland, we're going to work with Macomb, and we've got experience. In the city of Westland, we've merged our fire department with Wayne, we've merged our Parks and Recreation department with Wayne, we've sharing employees. Those are the type of things that we have to do in the future so we can protect services even when we're losing tax revenue.
Thank you. Mr. Vojtovich.
Let me tell you, I'm excited. As a leader of Wayne County, I would be more than happy, number one, to work with all the other counties here in southeastern Michigan. We have 83 counties here in the state of Michigan, and southeastern Michigan has the most populace. We are the region that brings the jobs in. All of the three major counties, Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne, seem to have a little difference because it doesn't have the trust amongst the leaders that we have. First of all, we're working with the central city, Detroit, working with the other counties, bringing in jobs and development, like outlet malls that are being vying for in Romulus and in Macomb. And they're looking at where are they going to get their best buck? Well, in Wayne County, we know where they can get their best buck for their.
Thank you. We're now going to start this lightning round where we're looking for just yes or no answers. So the timer gets to take a break here because all we need is a yes or no answer. We're going to start our first question with Mr. Bolden. Do you support a regional board for the Detroit Water and Sewage Department?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton?
Absolutely.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Ficano?
Yes.
Mr. LaVisca?
Yes.
Mr. McNamara?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
No.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Vojtovich?
Yes.
And Mr. Adamski?
Yes.
Okay. Second question. Do you support mandatory background checks for gun purchases? Starting with Mr. Dalton?
No.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Ficano?
Yes.
Mr. LaVisca?
Yes.
Mr. McNamara?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Absolutely.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Vojtovich?
Yes.
Mr. Adamski?
Yes.
Mr. Bolden?
Yes.
Mr. Evans, we'll start this next one with you. Do you support outsourcing civil servant jobs?
Generally speaking, no.
Thank you. Mr. Ficano?
Generally speaking, no.
Mr. LaVisca?
Not.
Mr. McNamara?
No.
Ms. Scott?
No.
Mr. Wild?
Generally speaking, no.
Mr. Vojtovich?
No.
Mr. Adamski?
Please repeat the question again.
Do you support outsourcing civil servant jobs?
Yes, I do, because...
That's
I
all
don't-
right? Yes is good. Mr. Bolden?
No.
And Mr. Dalton?
Some circumstances, yes.
Mr. Ficano, the next one will start with you. Will you increase probation officer funding so that so many of our crimes do not fall through the cracks?
What kind of officer? I'm sorry.
Probation officer funding so that many of our crimes do not fall through the cracks.
That's a state function.
Not
Yes.
applicable? Mr. LaVisca?
Pass.
Mr.
It's not-
McNamara?
It's not applicable to us.
Ms. Scott? I just want to give you all the chance to say that. I'm sorry, we should have worked on this one a little more.
State
Ms. Scott?
function.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Vojtovich?
Not applicable.
Mr. Adamski?
Not applicable.
Mr. Bolden?
Not applicable.
And Mr. Dalton?
Not applicable.
Let's try another one. We're going to start this one with Mr. LaVisca. Would you cut your own wage to help balance the Wayne County budget?
Yes, I would. I'm cutting my wage in half.
Yes is good.
I have.
Mr. McNamara?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
I said yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Vojtovich?
Yes.
Mr. Adamski?
I would work for nothing.
Mr. Bolden?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Ficano?
Yes, I have.
The next one, we're starting with Mr. McNamara. Do you believe that that the regionalization of some let me start over. Do you believe that the regionalization of some municipal services will overall benefit residents of Wayne County?
Yes.
Yes or no? Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Vojtovich?
Yes.
Mr. Adamski?
Yes.
Mr. Bolden?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Ficano?
Yes.
And Mr. LaVisca?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's move on to another question. We're starting this one with Ms. Scott. What measures would you take, and we're done with the lightning round, so you get a full minute here. What measures would you take to adequately fund the pension fund?
That's a hard one because I am fighting for my pension right now as a Detroit retiree. I think going to that 401 a defined benefit would be an ideal beginning approach.
Thank you. Mr. Wild?
Let me tell you what we did in the city of Westland. What we did was when we started with myself, I started contributing towards my pension, and all the other current employees in the city of Westland have started to contribute towards their pensions. And that's how we started to make a dent in it. And then as we've moved forward, as we've started to renegotiate our contracts, and we just did this recently with our police patrol unit, is that as we've started to do this, not only are the currents contributing towards their pensions, the new hires are going to be contributing towards their pensions. We're negotiating lower multipliers. We're getting rid of all the roll-ins that have pumped up the pensions. So what we're doing is we're basically bringing reform to the pension program, plus we're putting new dollars into these contributions. And those are the type of things that we'll do at Wayne County.
Mr. Vojtovich?
Well, we all heard the pension programs that are going on in Wayne County. Since I've been there, we've gone through at least 3 different ones. Okay? I've recently become vested. I think when each individual employee contributes to their pension plan, they are valued employees because then they understand that that is going to be theirs when they decide to leave the workforce. Of course, the pension system here in Wayne County needs to be revamped.